Hello and a warm welcome to Well This Week by latestlaws.com. This is a weekly program, so hit the bell icon to get notifications for new videos. My name is Sheetal Joon, Associate Editor, latestlaws.com, and I will be taking you through the significant orders and judgments passed by various courts in the country and some important international news from this week. Let's begin with Supreme Court this week. In a major relief to the Adani Group, the Supreme Court has ruled that it cannot enter into the domain of the regulatory regime and that the report of Hindenburg or anything like that cannot become the basis of ordering a separate probe. The bench headed by CJ Diva Chandrachud said that the court had limited jurisdiction when it comes to the Security and Exchange Board of India's regulatory domain, and so the board should be allowed to conclude its probe into the delegations into the group as has been promised. The bench also said that there is no ground to either transfer the probe from SEBI to SIT or to order SEBI to revoke its regulations. SEBI has completed investigation in 20 out of 22 matters. Taking account the assurance of Solicitor General, we direct the SEBI to complete the investigation into 2 other cases within 3 months, the court concluded. The Supreme Court has observed that certain paragraphs in its Calcutta High Court verdict advising young girls to control sexual urges were problematic, and writing such judgments was absolutely wrong. The Bengal government informed the top court that it had filed an appeal challenging the High Court verdict. The top court on December 8 last year criticized the verdict and termed some observation by the High Court highly objectionable and completely unwarranted. The Supreme Court, which initiated a suo motu writ petition in the matter, observed that judges are not expected to preach while writing judgments. A bench comprising of CJ Diva Chandrachud and Justice J.B. Pardiwala and Justice Manoj Mishra has taken note of senior advocate S. Muralidhar's submission that the jail manuals of 11 states discriminate in allocation of work inside the prisons and caste determines the places where inmates are lodged. Certain denotified tribes and habitual offenders are treated differently and discriminated against, the senior lawyer said. Issuing notices to the Union Ministry of Home Affairs and others, the bench asked Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to assist the court in dealing with issues raised in the PIL filed by Sukanya Shanta, a native of Kalyan in Maharashtra. The Supreme Court has said that it has recommended setting up of a 2-judge panel in all high courts to ensure that the order on pay, pension and other retirement benefits for judicial officers as per the Second National Judicial Pay Commission are implemented. Serving and former judicial officers will also get cashless facilities for their medical examination, a bench headed by CJ Diva Chandrachud said. Now let's have an overview of high courts. The Delhi High Court has said that an accused in a criminal case cannot be coerced to disclose the passwords of his or her gadgets and digital devices to the investigating agency. The High Court's observation came while granting bail to a person accused of running call centers in the country and defrauding US citizens to the tune of about $20 million. Justice Saurabh Banerjee said that while any accused is expected to show high sensitivity, diligence and understanding during investigation, the agency cannot expect him to sing in a tune which is music to their ears in view of protection granted under Article 23 of the Constitution. The article states that no person who is accused of any offence shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. The Karnataka High Court has observed that mere suspension pending inquiry by itself does not constitute an industrial dispute. Stating that the initiation of proceedings by the Labour and Conciliation Officer is unsustainable in law, the court clarified that suspension of an employee is not an industrial dispute and the order of suspension is not a punishment. The Jharkhand High Court has decreed that once an insurance company accepts an additional premium to cover the liability of a paid employee and indemnify the vehicle's owner, it becomes liable to compensate for a motor vehicle accident claim involving the death of a hired driver, regardless of whether the accident was caused by the driver's negligence. After reviewing the digital insurance policy of the vehicle, the court observed that the insurance company bears the responsibility to compensate for a hired driver's motor vehicle accident claim in the case of his death, regardless of whether the accident was caused by the driver's negligence or not. This obligation is initiated when the insurer consents to an extra premium to cover the liability of a paid employee. The Himachal Pradesh High Court has dismissed a petition filed under Section 482 of the Code of Criminal Procedure against an order passed by Additional Sessions Judge, whereby the order passed by the Sub-Divisional Collector was set aside. The court observed that at the time of the passing of the order by the Sub-Divisional Magistrate, another suit with respect to the same land was pending in the Civil Court. The court opined that the verdict of the Civil Court shall have precedence over the orders passed in proceedings adjudicated by the Magistrate under the Code of Criminal Procedure. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has reiterated that bail once granted cannot be cancelled automatically and in a mechanical manner, and there must be cogent and overwhelming circumstances necessary to cancel the bail once granted. The single judge bench of Justice Jasdeep Singh Bedi observed that it is a settled law that no condition for the automatic cancellation of bail can be imposed while granting the bail, and the only condition that can be imposed is that the investigating agency or the complainant would be at a liberty to move an application for cancellation of bail, which would be adjudicated upon accordance with the law. Mere violation of the bail conditions would not be sufficient to cancel the bail. The court must be satisfied that it is necessary to cancel the same, keeping in view various factors, the court further observed. The Jharkhand High Court has ruled that the registered adoption deed cannot be assumed as a public document and therefore cannot be marked as an exhibit without formal proof. This decision highlights the necessity of establishing foundational facts of marking documents as secondary evidence under Section 65 of the Evidence Act, correcting a significant legal error made by the lower court in its earliest assumption. Moving on to international news this week. A labour court in Bangladesh has sentenced Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus to 6 months in jail for violating the country's labour laws. Yunus, who pioneered the use of microcredit to help impoverished people and founded a non-profit organization named Grameen Telecom, is the centre of the case. The Pakistan Supreme Court has held that implementing the Supreme Court Practice and Procedure Act 2023, which amends and curtails the court's power, did not violate any fundamental rights, instead enhancing their protection and implementation. The court rejected argument about the potential threats to judicial independence and Chief Justice's role as the master of the roster. It emphasized that the Constitution limits the judiciary's power and legal conventions are not enforceable in court. Israel's top court has ruled against a key component of the government's controversial legal overhaul, which challenged the powers of the judiciary and sparked mass protests. A Supreme Court statement said 8 of the 15 justices has ruled against an amendment passed by the Parliament in July, which scraps the reasonableness clause used by the court to overturn government decisions which are deemed unconstitutional. Numerous court documents identifying associates of notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were made public in US court. Some of the high-profile names in the court documents include Prince Andrew, the former US President Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson and David Copperfield. These associates' just unsealed names were contained in court documents filed as a part of Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre's lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell. The documents include excerpts of depositions and motions in this case. The British socialite was convicted in December 2021 of sex trafficking and similar charges for procuring teen girls for disgraced financier Epstein. In the end, we have miscellaneous news. The High Court of Uttarakhand has suspended the District and Sessions Judge of Rudraprayag and former Registrar Vigilance of the High Court, Anuj Kumar Sangal, on charges of harassing a subordinate. Harassing a subordinate and threatening him with the removal from service is inhumane conduct and unbecoming of a judicial officer and is against the Uttarakhand Government Servant Conduct Rules 2002, the order reads. The Bar Council of India has resolved to show support for the recent enactment of 3 criminal laws aimed at overhauling the colonial era laws while also advocating for a continual dialogue to refine and improve the criminal justice system in India. The BCI has acknowledged the positive features embedded in the 3 acts. The Council has appreciated the removal of colonial era and outdated criminal laws such as the sedition section, which fosters a more inclusive and democratic legal environment by respecting freedom of expression. It further acknowledged the improvements regarding the registration of FIRs by police officers regardless of the offence's location and commended the emphasis on the utilizing of forensic methods in investigations and incorporating videography in searches and seizures, contributing to the enhancement of evidence collection and legal processes. However, recognizing the importance of an ongoing dialogue and a refinement in the legal procedures, the BCI has encouraged continuous discussion to address any ambiguities such as clarification on the permissible duration of police custody beyond the 15-day limit. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. This is a weekly program, and to get more information, please check the description box, and for weekly updates, like and subscribe to our channel.